in fixing it coming into this week's games.
Yeah, picking it back up. Same thing for the Unicorns of Love. They had their statistically worst week of the split. See if they can turn this one around. Zed and Graves banned right away for them. Fizz taken off the table for SK.
So that's an interesting one. Targeted ban towards the Unicorns of Love. We saw Fizz briefly a few weeks ago, but he has since been changed and obviously not really been a very popular pick. So definitely taking that off the table, most likely from Vizicsacsi. Maybe they know he's playing it in scrims. These are all just very targeted bans. You've still got the likes of Gnar up, Jarvan is still available, Rek'Sai is still available. So there's still a lot of priority picks. And I think SK have put themselves in a position where they can say to the Unicorns, you can take one, and we'll take the two that we want the most.
See if that is what they do. Corki actually banned away. That is an interesting choice. Nidalee locked in very, very quickly for Unicorns of Love. It's been fairly contested by both Kikis and Svenskeren. This leaves quite a lot available. The Lissandra was left up, and so is the Rek'Sai. It looks like they're going to get at least one of those. Thinking about the next, yep, that'll be it.
So it feels like actually both teams have got fairly comfortable picks. Seeing the rate at which they got locked in and knowing the proficiency that these guys have, like watching Kikis and Nidalee, it's his fourth time playing it. We see the Gnar locked in for Vizicsacsi. It's also a champion that he's played a bunch, and we've heard him even saying in the past, it's insta-lock. You've got the same token for Freddy with this flex pick Lissandra and Rek'Sai. So both teams getting really good comfort picks. And if this continues, we may actually see a game play out where it comes down to laning phase and decision making. Because at the moment, everybody's very happy with what they've got locked in.
Yeah. They are indeed deciding what they want. SK is going to slow down the pace of this one just a little bit. Okay, wait a minute, guys. This one's going a little quick for us. Lucian has been where we've seen Forgive and go when he's not able to get that Graves. They lock in the Leona as well. Kate pick didn't work out too well for him last week, so going back to those basics. He still hasn't lost on Lucian, by the way.
Yeah, 4 games played, 2 deaths given up. Again, mobility type AD carry. To quote Crepo from week 1 or week 2, he was saying how Forgiven's dashes on Lucian, specifically aggressively, are some of the most impressive. What I do like from the Leona lock-in for nRated is it guarantees the ability to jump onto a squishy member of Unicorns of Love. Nidalee wants to poke. Sivir wants to poke. Cass, yes, she has engaged power, but if any of them get caught by a solar flare, Lissandra plus Rek'Sai is a very good insta-give team comp to jump on them.
You're absolutely right, but Unicorns, they're relying on their comfort picks. Remember, the last time, the only time PowerOfEvil played Cassiopeia previously, went 5-0-3 on that champion. Massive, massive play for them. And Vardags as well on the Sivir. He's had a couple games on that one. I really think that Unicorns, it's big on the comfort for them, but they're going to have to change their playstyle because last week they were just far too passive, and a team like SK Gaming will run you over with that.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility, and for SK, locking in the Ezreal last pick, they're going to be very, very reliant on a Freddy or nRated engage. But what I do like from SK is they anticipated or predicted how the Unicorns want to play their comp out. They locked in that Leona in the second rotation, and she's going to do great against a Cassio, against a Sivir, against a Nidalee. Yes, Sivir can run and spell shield, but fairly immobile Annie, fairly immobile Cassio, and if you can lock down the other two, that's how SK can just get their AD carries to hammer away. We need to see how the lane plays out. If PowerOfEvil gets onto Fox, there's going to be a lot of hurt being put out from those Twin Fangs. And traditionally, Ezreal doesn't win lane. Ezreal plays to survive lane, get items, and then become effective in the mid to late game.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what SK does with this double AD composition. They've got the Lissandra power up in the top. So with the pick and ban phase timed out here, waiting for the coach to shake hands and go off. I agree, SK has a very clear-cut plan in this one, QuickShot, but after an 0-2 week, how well do you think they'll be able to execute what they've got?
Oh, I think very well. My instinct is the way the pick and ban phase played out, SK seemed to almost predict the comp or understand how to take advantage of the weaknesses that the Unicorns of Love have in place. So for Kikis on this Nidalee, it's going to be so important to have a powerful early game so that in the mid game they can avoid those skirmishes, avoid those Leona engages.
Indeed. Now both teams are coming off an 0-2 week, so tweet us at LOL Esports with the hashtag UOL win or SK win. Let us know who you think is going to start this week with a win. Big cheer up from the crowd, SK and Unicorns. Well, you can hear one louder than the other as we get ready to start off game number 2.
I can't wait to see what the public opinion poll is on this one.
Oh,
the
it's going to be big.
especially with their new headgear,
They took it off for the game, by
game.
the way. You can't fit the headphones over those.
Well, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. But yeah, so for SK, you know, Svenskeren, if he manages to get in onto PowerOfEvil, he could probably help Fox out in lane. But I'm more inclined to think that Svenskeren's going to help out either Freddy or Forgiven. Get them into an advantageous lane, get them into the lead. And I mean, Lissandra into Gnar, that's already a matchup that's quite favorable for you. So the possibility is quite good for SK.
Oh, that spear, though, still hurts at level 1. Kikis leveling that one up. Gets Freddy to take a quick back. SK Gaming still playing a very safe one. So we look like we're going to see standard lanes here. At the very least, Forgiven is going to be in a standard lane. Oh, now he's going to get out of the bush. Yeah,
for Forgiven and nRated, it's going to be looking to punish Hylissang. Leona can jump onto an Annie very quickly, and if they can get some quick burst down onto the Annie and zone her backwards, they can get control of this lane. But until nRated is able to jump onto the members of the Unicorns, that's a lane that will be in favor of the Unicorns of Love for a few minutes at first. But it looks like a lane swap started.
Yeah, I spoke a little bit too soon, so they're bringing 3 members to the top lane right now. Hylissang, Vardags moving a little forward. They won't have anyone to catch just yet. But SK doing some trickery here. And they're going to send nRated out. Who's going with him, though?
And you see the defensive placement from SK? Almost expecting shenanigans in the jungle because of the fact that both Kikis and Vizicsacsi had moved so far into SK's side of the map. It made Freddy as well as Forgiven play him very defensive. I wonder if SK were expecting a lane swap. Maybe because they didn't want to have that top and duo facing off against one another. And as it stands out, you see the buddy system for Unicorns, whereas Freddy's done one camp and is backing.
Yeah, really curious start there from SK Gaming. So Vizicsacsi, Kikis continue to roam together, be able to pick these ones off. So see where Vizicsacsi ends up going after that. They've already, of course, sent down Vardags to the bottom, so it should be no-brainer up to the top. And how long is he going to be at that? Because this is a free lane right now for Forgiven and nRated.
It's such an interesting thought, the way this team comp's going to play out. Because as long as SK Gaming do not get caught out by an Annie or a Cassiopeia engage, their late game's not going to be too terrible. They've got a fair amount of range poke from the Ezreal that can come out, especially if he does decide to go for an Iceborne Gauntlet. You can throw that down into Gnar, throw that down into Cass, create some more zoning and some control. And because of the fact that Unicorns have got this squishy long-range poke jungler, as opposed to a hard engage from their jungle position, it may buy more time for the double ADs to get the damage down. But again, all of the pressure is going to be on keeping Fox and Forgiven alive.
It's a tale of fire and ice in the bottom lane right now. Vardags not really getting involved, but Freddy is getting zoned back just a little bit. I'm curious to see how these top laners make do. They usually are able to come back quite well, even after deficits.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that tale of fire and ice plays out, which character gets killed off first.
Yes,
as is the tradition.
In an SK game, you never really know, to be honest.
No, definitely not. So let's see, who's pushing heavily? SK continuing the trend. Yamato Cannon summarized SK's playstyle fairly simply, that against weaker teams, SK have been able to exert their control by shoving the waves in over and over and over. It allows SK to get to objectives first. It allows them to be the first, feet on the ground, and their opponents have to react. We noticed Forgiven pushing quite heavily top. You can obviously see nRated and Freddy pushing on the bottom, but Forgiven's the one that's going to be outnumbered if Unicorns decide to push up.
They are pinging for that one. Let's see, Kikis has some ideas here. He's going to jump the wall just a moment. Oh, there's a ward there, so he's going to get spotted. Yep, there we go, right away. Vizicsacsi goes Mega Gnar, but Forgiven is already on his way out.
Yeah, Forgiven was in full retreat. I think just a few seconds before that happened anyway. Not really type of guy you're going to expect to get caught out, but see a knock-up or a root has to land. Let's see if it does.
Yep, they're just going to throw a nice shard at PowerOfEvil. He was making good his escape as well. So far, some of this early aggression hasn't yielded much of anything, although the Skeleton Crab's in trouble.
As they always are. Bottom half of the map in control of SK, top half in favor of the Unicorns. But it's interesting to see that nRated has actually left Forgiven. That Leona, not the greatest in a lane swap, because of the fact that she's melee, because of the fact that, Mini Gnar is going to be able to farm from range, so can't do a whole lot. But Kikis has found Sven.
Yeah, he has, and he's found half his health bar at the very least. Goes back in for number 2, gets knocked up the spear. Will not connect the second time around, and Hylissang was sighted out in that brush. She's going to take it back to base.
Yeah, and again, early game presence from a Nidalee, despite the fact it's 5.3, still very, very effective. Going to be able to keep putting the damage down, the sustain, and getting the bonus damage from that Hunted and Cougar form means that Sven is forced away. You somewhat expect that in the 1v1. But what's going to be important for Sven is when he can make ganks happen, although he may need to act quickly. Forgiven's getting dived.
Yeah, he is indeed, but Vizicsacsi's the one takes the damage to get the stun. They get the jump, but they get a flash as well. Forgiven trying for the outplay, but that's gonna be first blood for the Unicorns of Love.
Yeah, and nRated tried to get that Zenith Blade down into Hylissang, but he was just out of range. In fact, flashed for that as well. So was trying to get something back, but did not happen. And the fact that nRated was roaming, it allowed Unicorns to set that up. If you go all the way back, Unicorns had started that invade, they pulled Hylissang to the top, and they put pressure on Sven before diving top. But now it's PowerOfEvil in trouble.
Yep, there's a teleport coming in, however. Can he last it? He's not going to connect his ultimate. He burns his flash as well. Svenskeren on the chase. Vizicsacsi dueling it out with Fox, and PowerOfEvil might actually get away. Sven thought he had the damage, but here comes nRated. Kikis here is with PowerOfEvil, and that was just not well executed.
Yes and no. I actually think both Fox and Sven had a decent attempt, but because of the support from the Unicorns, they couldn't carry on the chase. You actually saw both Fox and Sven turn around to dodge the Petrifying Gaze from PowerOfEvil, which was great. And the reason Sven had to gank that lane as opposed to the others, obviously Forgiven had just got dove, and the fact that the lane swap played out the way it was. So Sven's only option to make an aggressive play was in that lane.
You got a point there. I will give you that one. And it was just really, really wacky to see how it all played out. But what this means in the end is that everything's still on even pace, with the exception of the Unicorns of Love early gold lead, which hasn't really changed much since the start of this one. Going back to the mid lane right now, PowerOfEvil, up until that point, hadn't been immensely pressured. He was able to get out of harm's way the only other time they tried to make some action on him. And with the double Doran start, he's got fair enough damage. Fox is not going to be able to really get that aggressive without some backup.
Oh, this is going to be scary. A level advantage to Kikis. He's caught Sven.
Yep, and Svenskeren runs right over the trap as well. The hop, the skip, the jump, another spear. He's going to be able to heal and tunnel, but here comes Kikis. Didn't expect nRated to be there. Forgiven, the triple team. Well, it's just a double, I suppose, because Svenskeren was watching from the sidelines. But a quick pickup, and that's a kill to Forgiven.
Despite all of the positive work that Kikis had put down in the jungle and, you know, trying to keep Sven down, it's not denied him CS, and he goes too aggressive. Chachi actually throws his ultimate down on nRated just to avoid that CC. But again, just, you know, it was smart play from Kikis initially. He got over-eager. He smelt blood in the water and chased too far. So was unable to make that work. And that's an interesting vote.
There's your fan vote. 67% of you saying Unicorns Love going to win. That's 2 to 1, really. There's my math coming in handy. Versus SK Gaming. And considering that SK still considered the big favorites by the coaches there, big favorites by analysts, I mean, that is a big, big number.
It really is. And, you know, Pyro, the Challenger series has taught me one thing, never to do math on air.
That's
so
true.
we need to just keep
I
that in
need to work on
mind.
that one. The Challenger series taught me another thing, is that a team called Unicorns can very much impress.
That's the case. They've got themselves a small lead. SK were trying to shove the waves up, but the lane swap has not worked in their favor. And you could argue that having a Leona in the lane swap is part of the reason, in addition to the fact that Ezreal's not really going to win his lane, etc. So for SK, they're fairly happy to buy their time. They're still relevant on gold, despite the ones being engaged upon. And I still like their team composition when it comes to finding kills. I think it's a little easier and a little safer for a Leona to set up and engage than a Flash Tibbers is. So we'll see whether or not that same late game scaling comes into play. It worked for Fnatic in the previous game.
It's very true. And SK Gaming are a team that, while they may not like to take too many fights, they really do know how to protect the squishiest members of their team and just pelt out a ton of consistent damage. And they're going to have a lot of it between Fox and Forgiven this game. And also Freddy can set these things up. Here we go.
This is going to be a very big fight because Sven knows the Unicorns are here.
Yep, Kikis, he is going to get locked down and taken out. Svenskeren. No chance for backup, and that's a dead kitty.
0-2-1. Somewhat underestimating the Tremor sense and the fact SK had numbers advantage. What was very important to note, Forgiven wants Chachi.
Yeah, he does. He dashed forward, starts shootout calling, only hits a couple of shots, but he did get the tower. True shot barrage, a stylish pickup for Fox.
So the one thing we do have to take note here, Unicorns are trying to play aggressive. Part of the reason they lost last week, they didn't take advantage of item timings, they didn't take advantage of champion level power-ups, and they simply got beaten by not being proactive enough. Kikis is trying to carry so hard, he's putting himself in bad positions and he's been punished for it. He gave up a kill a moment ago, he gave up a kill a few minutes ago, even though his idea was good. Get aggression, get pressure, get in the jungle. So for Kikis, he's just going to dial it back and be a little bit more coordinated and controlled with the rest of his team.
Yeah, well, up until about a week or two ago, we pretty much exclusively talked about jungle Nidalee being an early game threat, but Diamond has proved us wrong in that regard. We'll see if he goes for that type of build. Kikis now going to start off the Dragon. Hylissang coming to help as well, but there is the Void Rush. Svenskeren doesn't want to give this one up for free, and like
look for Solar
Flare. Yep, they're going to try to start this one off. Hylissang's the one who's caught. That Solar Flare gonna get flashed away. The heal comes up. Svenskeren having to turn tail around as Kikis is around the side, but neither team really in the greatest position to contest this Drake just yet.
No, do the Unicorns feel brave enough to go back? They know that the Void Rush was used. They know there's no Solar Flare. So we need to keep an eye on whether or not SK decides to back. But what was also good to see, SK were not willing to give up that buff because they knew they had the reaction. Teleport was available from Freddy, despite the fact that it was nearby, and obviously the Solar Flare. But they did get that flash from Hylissang. So a few minutes time, and we'll see if he can get caught out.
Teleport being used by Freddy. So that one's going to be down for the time being. Vizicsacsi still has his available. But yeah, it does seem like they've decided, let's not attempt the Dragon just yet. Going back to defend those towers.
Both of these mid laners are looking to scale. So they've been sitting, they've both got tiers, they both need items before they can really start putting work on the map. And, you know, Pyro, you were talking about how SK are defending their towers. The strategy that beat SK Gaming last week was getting ahead of them in the laning phase. You know, Fnatic did it through great warding and by punishing SK's wave pushing. SK have not necessarily kept up that heavy push this game. Mostly because I think of Fox on this Ezreal. Forgiven's trying, but again, it's not been 12 minutes of non-stop push. So it means that the only option for Kikis to really get involved was in the jungle. And that was why he was pushing Svenskeren so heavily.
Yeah, it made sense on paper. It just, he pursued a little bit too heavily, and SK were able to collapse on that one. Just really good map awareness from them and really good sense to be able to push off that aggression. So Kikis, he's not in a terrible situation. He can still go to Diamond Prox build. He can still go for this Dragon. That's what he's doing right now. So the rest of the Unicorns collapsing on this one. They've got some serious damage, but Svenskeren is here. Sends out the Prey Seeker. They're going to give that one up, however. So first Dragon of the game, 13 minutes in. Go to the Unicorns of Love. Like,
very smart. Void Rush had just come off cooldown. Culling had been used in the bottom lane. Yes, Solar Flare was up, but I think Unicorns with the calculated decision. And again, this is just growth from last week. It was improvement from their very slow games that cost them 0-2. Now they're being more decisive, they're making plays. But keep in mind, they're still behind in gold. And that is, of course, because SK has a tower already.
But I'm glad you bring up the fact that they're being more decisive, because that's really what seemed to sink them last week. They were backing off. They were not abusing their power spikes. They completely gave up a power spike. I believe it was versus H2K, and just backed off when they didn't need to. This time, they're asserting the power that they do have, despite the fact that they're down a bit of gold. That Dragon pickup was big for them.
Yeah, and I think it's also very important to note, for Unicorns and their team comp, they need to engage. They've got two very heavy champions, and let's see if they can catch them up. Freddy wants power.
Oh, how's that for an engage? They find PowerOfEvil, the true shot barrage, the flash forward. Svenskeren coming around the side, but they don't even need him, and Vizicsacsi is just too late to the party.
So very well played from SK. They were invading, trying to set up a play on the blue buff, and they managed to punish PowerOfEvil for moving into his own jungle. And you see how that hard CC works. For SK, if they get single picks through the Lissandra, the Leona, the Ezreal, that's how they can continue to win team fights. For UOL, it's all about AoE stunts.
Yep, and they are going to land it, but the Zenith Blade coming back in, the Solar Flare. Vardags, oh so low as he's burning down to nothing, and nRated picks him up. But they do manage to find nRated as well.
So in a 3v2, they trade 1-for-1, but Unicorns got the tower as well. So net advantage to the Unicorns of Love. And I think as a team, they need to have those aggressive plays. They need Gnar to jump in. They need Hylissang to get the CC down. And that will buy the time for Nidalee, Cassio, and Sivir to win out. We're going to have very explosive team fights that have the ability to go heavily in favor of one team. Because if a Solar Flare catches a few or a Tibbers catches a few, that's it. That team fight can be over in that instance.
Yeah, these fights can get really explosive. PowerOfEvil, again, trying to stack up as much as he can. He is, of course, already a solid, well, not a huge amount of CS ahead, but he's doing quite well versus Fox on this Ezreal. Has the Archangel staff completed already. Let's take a look at how that Little 1-for-1 happened in the bottom lane, though.
Yeah, Vardags, of course, because he couldn't get auto attacks down onto Forgiven, he was forced to focus the tower out, meant that it gave Forgiven some free time to deal damage to Annie. And it was just a fairly textbook. Get the tower, get the dive. And they came away with the kill as well. It did go to Kikis, though.
I like how they were walking straight towards the Rek'Sai tunnel, and then Svenskeren was like, no, back off, that's mine. And then you got to move away from that one. So, almost 16 minutes on the clock right now. SK Gaming, fair amount of control in their own jungle. They have lost a tower, but they have one themselves up in the top side as well. Looks like they're going to settle back in to an extended laning phase. Yeah,
and something that we haven't, touched on just yet, the fact that Forgiven went for Pickaxe into Avarice Blade. He's actually got his Infinity Edge and his Avarice Blade, whereas Vardags has just finished his Infinity Edge. It's about 900 gold, the difference between these two. Yes, there is a kill and a tower, or rather a kill and an assist on Forgiven, but mostly because of that extra gold from the CSing, that Avarice Blade is going to help him get to that Shiv even quicker. So we'll see whether or not Forgiven and SK can make use of that item, make use of the item spike, rather, is the term I'm looking for, and punish UOL, because it seems like SK are playing more aggressively. Look in the mid, look in the bottom. SK are pushing where Unicorns are not.
Indeed they are. PowerOfEvil going to try to push this wave back himself. So Unicorns, they should be able to grab this top side thanks to the power of Vizicsacsi and Kikis. Freddy does not want to get involved. He's actually hanging around the side, but of course Hylissang's coming up there too. So they get their second tower, but Svenskeren's hanging around on the bottom side. Vardags a little bit low, has to back away from this one. And with the mini wave at their backs, SK should be able to push this one down pretty quickly.
With 2 minutes before Dragon, if SK had more wards, I would have really liked this play because they could have got some vision down to set it up for the next trade. They do have a decent ring. We'll get to that. Freddy's caught.
Oh, he is indeed. The Frozen Tomb coming down on him as they juggle a bit of turret aggro, tries to get away. Kikis taking a few tower shots at the end of it all, but they do manage to pick up the kill. Here comes Svenskeren in for a little bit of revenge. True shot barrage, shaving some off the health bars. Big Gnar against the wall, and Svenskeren goes down to Kikis, who gets some gold back in his pocket. Fox coming in again.
A new challenger appeared.
Oh, and he takes out Hylissang, looking for Vizicsacsi, but that Mega Gnar still don't want to mess with that one. A big spear coming in. He goes farther forward. He's looking for Vizicsacsi. So low. Kikis jumps away from the Zenith Blade, and the action just doesn't seem to stop in this top lane.
It does not, but it's SK that come off a little worse for wear. They went in one by one, and the Unicorns punished them for it. Kikis is racking up more kills to his name, and Chachi with a very good stun onto Svenskeren. This is just actually a very well-coordinated dive. There's not a whole lot to it. Hylissang tanks up the turret for a couple of shots, and then Svenskeren, he feels he can get a quick kill, but underestimates the mobility of Nidalee, and obviously may have anticipated the true shot barrage being on point, but unfortunately, Unicorns, just with a great tower dive, get themselves a goal. Keep in mind, Forgiven did trade the top tower for the bottom tower, so they're keeping themselves close-ish on those objectives.
Of course, PowerOfEvil got the middle tower at the same time, so they were able to pick a little bit back up for it. After all the craziness subsides, it's 10 seconds till the Dragon is going to respawn. Unicorns looking to try to muscle in on this one. A lot of vision both sides, but the Tremor Sense for Svenskeren is going to be able to detect a lot of the Unicorns.
Yeah, and look at the itemization here for Kikis. Up against a double AD comp and an AD jungler, he's gone for the Iceborne Gauntlet. So not only is it going to give him more zoning and more, team fights, it's also armor.
Yes, it is. Hylissang, though, wishes he had some of that right now. Forgiven is going to take him out. Solar Flare lands. PowerOfEvil picking up Freddy 1-2-2. The Stone Gaze. Svenskeren, a double kill for Power. They're looking for more. Forget the Dragon. nRated's going deep. He's going down. Kikis on a rampage. And they get themselves a 3-for-1.
Unicorns of Love find the team fights. SK Gaming should not be in a position where they're going in a straight head-to-head. They need to kite, they need to move, they need mobility on their side, and it simply did not happen. Unicorns win a convincing team fight, get themselves a tower, and they can even peel back for Dragon if they're feeling confident enough.
Just a few seconds remaining before everyone respawns. There they go. Instantaneous Void Rush, you hear the scream going out. Can Svenskeren really contest this one? It seems like SK, in their hastiness, they've made some mistakes. This Dragon, True Shot Barrage, is just going to actually help out. Kikis is a little bit low, though. This is going to be close. They should be able to smite that. No, they actually just go ahead and pick it up with Vardags at the end.
Yeah, so Snipe was not actually available from Kikis. You see it fall down. But Unicorns just with a great team fight. I'm pretty sure that Solar Flare from nRated hit nobody. Unicorns either flashed or peeled away from it. And as soon as there was no CC, look at this. 4 members of Unicorns of Love against 3 from SK.
They pull
everybody.
everything on Hylissang.
Yeah, Solar Flare catches Vizicsacsi on the side. That wasn't even a full-on stun. And at the end of the day, SK were hoping to find a pick, and it backfired. They went too deep, they thought they had somebody, and they didn't. Unicorns with such a great response.
Yeah, and they're not respecting the Gnar. The Mega Gnar power Vizicsacsi is throwing out, as well as the houses, is just way, way, way too much. So they do get a tower after all that. It's 3-4. They are keeping relevant. They're now, though, down 3,000 gold.
Did he steal it?
I think he did. Oh, nicely done, Fox. So he can take both blue buffs whenever he wants.
Jeez.
So they're able to get that back at the very least.
That was blind as well.
Yeah.
There's no vision there for SK. Well played, Fox. So stealing that blue buff is a small win, but it's actually, it's not the end of the world, mostly because of the fact that PowerOfEvil's got a lot of mana to play with that fully stacked Archangels. He's going to be able to keep growing in power. We'll see on how much ability power PowerOfEvil's racked up. It's 351. The Unicorns, with all of their damage, they've started off an early Baron.
They're pinging PowerOfEvil. They know he disappeared on that side. They have to know this is happening. There is no Void Rush available. They don't have enough people in the area. Fox, he's going to have to try to do something. No, it's too late. That's going to get taken down. The Baron picked up at 21.5 minutes for the Unicorns.
There's a few reasons why this is so good. Number one, Unicorns made an estimated guess that SK didn't have vision. You can see all the pinks that Unicorns had there. That was obviously the control side, but they knew that SK did not have vision in their jungle. They punished SK for their lack of wards. Secondarily to that, Sheepy said in the pregame today, as a team, we could optimize our Barons. That is the most optimized Baron you could have. 21 minutes on the board. The only problem is, because they didn't back away to defend their lanes, they've lost one, maybe two towers. We'll see if they can get after this fight.
This would be a very dangerous fight, but they turn on nRated. He's burning down and going down. Vizicsacsi finding the kill pickup. Meanwhile, up in the top lane, Vardags is just continuing to push away Kikis. Gotta be careful. He's going to burn his flash to make his escape, but they just need to stop the backs. Void Rush having to be used by Svenskeren to peel Vardags away. The Unicorns still charging forward. Mega Gnar, tower goes down. Frozen Tomb, Hylissang going to evaporate. Freddy is going down as well. Fox picks up a killing spree, but a double over to PowerOfEvil. Forgiven, can't do a thing. A triple kill to Power, and up in the top lane, I don't even know what's happening anymore, but an inhibitor's going down, QuickShot.
There was no bad call at all. Yes, Unicorns of Love may have given up some ground on those towers, but they punished SK. They sent Vardags top in a great decision. Vardags was able to get the top turret, the inhibitor as well, and while he was applying all of that pressure, it allowed the rest of the Unicorns to just jump on SK. Even if the Unicorns had lost the team fight and lost multiple members, but got the inhibitor, it still would have been a worthwhile trade. The Unicorns of Love have got absolute control of this game, and that was just really good decision-making as a team to understand the cost, the variables, and what they could get, because they took the biggest objectives you can at the moment.
Yeah, and against a team as scrappy as SK is, that is just an achievement that you cannot understate. Forgiven's always seems to be the last guy to go down in those kinds of situations, but they finally take him out. They take out the rest of them. And yeah, they had to send Svenskeren in a mad panic back up to the top lane. He still couldn't defend anything, and that is one thing a Sivir's going to be fantastic at. As far as AD carries go, split pushing works out quite well in their favor. And now the Unicorns of Love still with that Baron buff.
Here comes
They're going to
Hylissang.
look for another fight. Hylissang flash. Tibbers on nRated, as tanky as he is. Going to go down to Vardags. Freddy trying to get away, but Vizicsacsi on the hop is going to force his flash. They find Fox. Whoa, got to back away from that one as True Shot Barrage comes in to push him back, but they're still pushing as far as they can in the mid.
Yeah, culling was used just to wave clear from Forgiven. Unicorns of Love are strangling SK out of the game. They've got another inhibitor turret.
Oh, they're looking for some revenge from that loss. They suffered a very grueling one against SK several weeks ago. They take inhibitor number 2 right now. SK's base is not looking too hot, QuickShot.
It's not at all. The Unicorns of Love have they found everything that they did not have last week. The reason that the Unicorns of Love lost their games was because of the fact that they couldn't take advantage of their position or their team comp. And this time around, Hylissang's engages have been perfect. He's been involved in 11 out of his team's 12 kills. PowerOfEvil is putting all of the damage on the side lanes, and Vardags, yes, it's not the greatest scoreline at 1-1-4, but he followed the communication from his team. The call was push top, and it was Vardags pressure in the top lane that got Unicorn's inhibitor. 25 minutes on the board, a 10,000 gold lead.
Yeah, there's too many threats on this Unicorns team for SK to individually deal with. And as much as they're trying to contest objectives, as much as they're trying to push back, the lack of vision is punishing them. Svenskeren is waiting in this brush to see if anyone checks too far forward. But there are a lot of members of Unicorns here. Svenskeren, he's going to move out of town as he dodges away from the Javelin thanks to his tunnel network.
You know, something that we just have to highlight, that the first inhibitor that went down for SK fell at 22 minutes, 50 seconds. That is the quickest inhibitor SK has given up in the spring split. SK is on the verge of going 0-3. For a team that went 8-0, it feels like the higher quality teams have figured them out.
And there we go. Kikis finding something right there as he gets a quick pickup. nRated going to try to save the day. Here comes the true shot barrage. But there is so much damage on this Unicorn squad. A shutdown for Forgiven, but they are in full retreat. Back to Fountain. The Unicorns of Love can grab themselves another inhibitor right after this one. Everything out of SK Gaming space. The death timer's 20 seconds ticking. SK Gaming, a mad dash to try and save their base.
At 21 minutes, Unicorns made a brave call to go for the Baron. It worked out so well that 4.5 minutes later, they're knocking on the Nexus turret. The Unicorns have just got great decision-making in the mid lane here.
Absolutely, and they're going to back off from this one right now, but they do get one Nexus turret down. There are minions streaming in. They've got the double waves of super minions coming out as much as they can. Here we go, Svenskeren going to try to get the flank on as he moves. Kikis, though, they're going to start this one off. Hylissang a little bit low, but still trying to keep himself safe. Svenskeren flashing forward, looking for Hylissang. True shot barrage is going to be the thing that finishes him off, however. Kikis following over the wall, not able to connect the Spirit Vizicsacsi. They're taking even more action. They pick another kill. Here comes Fox. Shutdown going over to the Ezreal. However, Vizicsacsi is able to hop right on his head and stomp him down like a Goomba. Forgiven finally gets the kill, but it is just oh so messy for SK.
SK Gaming want to channel their inner team solo mid for the next 20 minutes. TSM held off against Team Liquid with 3 inhibitors down for 3 consecutive waves. It was even harder because Team Liquid had Barons, had Dragon buffs, the aspect of the Dragon. For Unicorns, they need to just regroup, get themselves as 5, wait for the minions to push into SK's base, and then make use of the mobility from Sivir and the zoning from Gnar. Let the super minions take the base down. You just keep the champions busy. We'll see if Unicorns can do better than Team Liquid did.
We will indeed see, even though Liquid did end up taking that game at the end of the day. SK Gaming looking to stall this one out. They're sending out true shot barrages just to clear the waves away. A 3rd dragon now picked up by Unicorns of Love. We usually don't say that when all 3 inhibitors are down, but that
I don't think we ever say that, Pyro.
I agree. This has been a very, very unusual game, QuickShot.
The thing that's just so great is the Unicorns, it's decision-making that won them the game. Team comp versus team comp, you can argue the merits, who was better, who was worse, but what Unicorns did more appropriately than SK was get the pink wards down early in the Baron pit, rush it, and the moment they had that, they instantly pushed waves. They instantly pushed against SK, and they didn't dawdle. They didn't wait for their opponents to hit more items and more power.
Well, the game may not be over, strictly speaking, yet, but Unicorns are looking to make it just so. The Baron immediately spawning and taking some heavy fire from all 5 members of the Unicorns. No way that SK could try and contest this one, and for a team that had prided itself. There's the true shot barrage, a little bit too early from Fox. It's taken down. You gotta wonder if they maybe had some of that vision in there, they wouldn't have to be blind firing.
Yeah, and it is a problem that SK needs to work on. Individually, they've got great players, and as a team, they do have very good team fighting and map play, but only when they have a lead. Something that SK's yet to show is an ability to dig deep and defend and play from behind, which is actually something they did phenomenally well last year. In the summer split, SK was the team that lost lane, but still won the game because of their mid and their late game decisions. And this is going to be tough. They've caught Freddy again.
Oh, and they hop right over him. He's going to Frozen Tomb himself for just a few moments. Vizicsacsi going to be able to finish him off. PowerOfEvil takes the end of the Solar Flare, but it doesn't even matter. Forgiven trying to cull his way to something, but it is absolutely nothing at all. Inhibitor going down again. Unicorns are 5 strong, looking to charge down the remaining members of SK Gaming. The Nexus turret, final one remaining, going down, and in just under 30 minutes, the Unicorns of Love have done it. They take down SK Gaming, who fall 3 losses in a row.
Fantastic performance from the Unicorns. As that Nexus went down, I looked over my shoulders.
That is a good chant.
And the audience were on their feet. They won the Twitter poll. They bounced back from 0-2. And Unicorns are the real deal.
They indeed are. One of the quickest games that we have had to take down SK Gaming, and it was so convincing the other way the last time these two teams met up. But big smiles on their faces as they walk back to the booth, give themselves, and of course Sheepy, another big hug. Well deserved.
I think it's very important you mention that. With SK's losing streak now, they're 8-3. Unicorns of Love find themselves in a 6-5 record. However, the head-to-head is now tied because of the fact that UOL are now 1-1 versus SK. As the games continue to play out towards the end of the split, if we have tiebreaker scenarios in the top half of the table, it's games like this that give Unicorns a better shot at a semi-final position, a better shot at a top 2 placement. It's still a few games away, but this is one of the things. They took an inhibitor from SK Gaming faster than any other team in the European LCS.
Right, and this is looking great for them. Obviously, it's worth mentioning they had an 0-2 week. It was one of the worst weeks they've had in the LCS so far. They still have yet to find some of that consistency, but if they can play like that, maybe not every game, that's a tall order, but if they can play like that, at least most of them, they can certainly find themselves in that playoff contention. They're going to be facing off, of course, against Meet Your Makers coming up tomorrow.
Yep.
So I would hesitate to say it should be as hard as that SK game looked at first.
Stranger things have happened.
That's very true.
So,
I'll take my hands off that one.
You can't put it there, but I think if you step back and look at this game holistically, the lane swap slowed things down. SK were again unable to make an impact in the lane. It was the same problem last week. Svenskeren did not have his usual impact in the early game, which is something that helped them get that 8-0 record. Even though Kikis made mistakes, even though Kikis invaded and gave up kills, it still wasn't enough for SK to take the lead or take advantage. Unicorns were still able to bounce back, and they just worked as a unit very, very well.
Speaking of bouncing, I really, really want to highlight Vizicsacsi's Gnar play because there were just so many good points where it looked like he got caught out, but he was baiting into his team. He hopped back on. He was able to actually get some serious Gnar ultimates for either isolation kills or a couple of really big team plays. And on the other side, there just wasn't as much coordination in these fights from SK. It seemed like they were kind of running around and just trying to get picks, but it just didn't work that well for them.
Yeah, I agree with you. It actually felt like the decision-making or when to go in for SK was lacking this game. The few times they did try, they would throw everything at a kill, not secure it, and then once Chachi jumped in and would get his Mega Gnar, he was enough of a zoning presence and a threat on that front line that PowerOfEvil and Vardags, I never once felt like they were at threat. When you look at those team fights, it's always Chachi on the front line. It's always Hylissang flashing forward, Kikis and his Nidalee. And all of a sudden, you know, you've got Cassio and Sivir still hammering away. So yes, Chachi did great, but he was just standing there saying, look, you either deal with me or I stun you and you die.
Yeah, talk about playing to those win conditions. Now, for a closer look at that match, we're going to go ahead and hand it back to Shox at the analyst desk.